let's update the CDL power rankings after week 2 of Major 2 qualifiers. Now, I will say I didn't do one of these last week because last week it was like impossible to rank. The top half teams pretty much all lost and the bottom teams pretty much all won. And it just was like, I could not figure out a way to make the rankings accurate. So this is going to be taking into account the first 2 weeks of Major 2 qualifiers that we just saw in these last 2 weeks. So there might see some bigger jumps or some bigger falls throughout these past 2 weeks, being as I didn't post one of these videos last week, like I just said. But I mean, we're just gonna hop straight into this, man. Don't forget to drop a like, sub to the channel. We're on the road to 8K. And starting it off, it's gonna be the Vegas Falcons at 12. I mean, you know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this one, right? I don't even have to pull up their breaking point page. These guys have won a couple maps this split, but ultimately, I mean, they're the worst team in the game. Then coming in at number 11, also still at number 11, it is going to be the LA Gorilla Mates. LAG are 0-3 so far in the quals, having won 3 maps, and obviously they got 0-3'd by the Miami Heretics. Not something you'd want to see. They did just bring in Lunars this past week, and now there's rumors from CDL Intel on Twitter that they're going to be replacing Skies with Priesta to trying out a different formula for this roster. But overall, I mean, it's just not clicking for this team, right? You can see the stats. Kiz and Linz have done their thing. Lunars has been okay, a little bit slow in his first series, but pretty good in the second one. But it's really been Priesta and Skies, I think, that have been holding this roster back. And now it's Priesta coming back in for Skies. We're going to kind of see how this affects the team, but they're still at number 11. Then coming in at number 10, probably our biggest fall, it is going to be OpTic Texas. Actually, they're only down 4 because they were number 6 after Major 1. But OpTic is down at number 10. And I know there's probably some OpTic fans that are like, we're going to bounce back. They could bounce back for all, and I hope they do, right? But that doesn't change the fact that they've been really, really bad right now. So that's why they're at number 10. I mean, OpTic are in dead last right now in Major 2 quals. They have not won a series. They have not won a map. Even the Vegas Falcons have won maps at this point. And for OpTic, their losses coming to Atlanta FaZe, Rocker, and Raven. So all 3 competent teams, right? These are all 3 good teams in the league. But to not win a single map, and honestly, to not even be relatively close in a lot of these matchups, and to just look completely lost on the map as a core 4 of ex-world champions, reigning world champions, right? It's just not something you expect to see. And statistically, if we look at their numbers for just the 3 matches they played in Major 2 qualifiers, I mean, you can see it's just not good for anybody. If I move this over a little bit, Slayer rating is pretty low for every single player, right? Shotzzy, I mean, 87.5 is not too bad, but everybody's negative. Kenny a 0.67, Dashy a 0.8. I mean, it's just really, really bad, honestly, out of the ARs. Dashy and Kenny. Kenny specifically has obviously not been good all year, but Dashy has been honestly pretty bad since like Minor 1, which is pretty insane to say because he was one of the top ARs for a long period of time, I'd say, so far in the year. But it's just been pretty bad. They have not been able to click, and they are going to be at number 10. Then coming in at number 9, actually the biggest fall, it is going to be the Miami Heretics, down from, I believe I had them top 4, now to number 9. Might be a little bit harsh on Miami. They are 1 and 2, a 5 and 6 map count, but overall, this team is just, they just don't really impress me, right? Their only win came against LAG, who are pretty buns, right, to say the least, but they got 3-1 by Rocker. They got 3-1 by FaZe. The team is decent. They had Super fill in for one of their matchups, but overall, this is just a team that, like, if Real's not slamming, they don't really feel like they have a chance in many of these series. I do feel bad dropping them this much after how well they did on land, but after 2 relatively disappointing weeks and other teams jumping up, as you're going to see here, it just only made sense for them to fall. Coming in at number 8, actually still at number 8, is going to be the Boston Breach, a pretty weird team to rate. Boston right now is sitting at number 7 in the Major 2 qualifiers, 2-2 record, 8 and 9 map count. So like they're pretty much around 550% in a whole bunch of their statistics. And just looking at their, you know, the maps they played, the matches they played, they beat Vegas, they beat LAG, so the, you know, the 2 worst teams in the league. And then they lost to Ultra. They lost to C9, right? Ultra, obviously a good team. C9, a team on the rise. And just this team is in the spot where they kind of, I think, need to make an upgrade, especially for their AR, one of their ARs. Cammy and Awakening, both, I just don't think are going to cut it. Specifically, I think Awakening just doesn't do it for this roster. I think Cammy's been a little bit better this split. If I deselect all these matches and just select the matches for this split, you can kind of see their stats here in a second if it decides to load. And yeah, here are their stats right now, right? Obviously, Snoopy's still doing his thing. Cammy's doing his thing, but Purge is falling off greatly. And Awakening is just, it's just not, like, he's just not, I don't think, really cut out. I know people have said he has, like, wrist issues or hand issues, and that's super unfortunate, but ultimately, it's just not cutting it for the league. And I think this is a team that needs to make an upgrade at their ARs. And even Purge is going to end up being on the chopping block if he doesn't turn it around. And then to round out our right side of the board here at number 7, up 2 spots, it is Cloud9 New York. C9 is a team that's been impressing me, man. 3-1, 11-3 map count. Honestly, could potentially be higher. Like if you bump them higher in your rankings, I would not argue with you about it. They 3-0'd the Toronto Ultra, which is insane. Lost 3-2 to a really good Surge team. 3-0'd the Vegas Falcons and 3-0'd the Boston Breach. Overall, this team is just looked significantly better. Once again, if I select the matches for this split, look at those numbers out of this team, man. Sib 1.25, Kremp nearly 100, Slayer rating 1.21. Everybody's doing the thing. Honestly, Mac has been like the worst, maybe him and Attach have been like the quote unquote worst player, which is a flip from what we saw obviously last stage where he was their best player. This team just looks much better. 4-1 in hardpoint, 4-1 in SND, 3-1 in control, only 3 map losses. Like I said, I actually think you could bump these guys higher. Now we get into our top 6, and at number 6, down a spot, I do have the Toronto Ultra. Honestly, thinking about it now, I'd probably switch Ultra and C9, so just, you know, for your own thought here. But Ultra are 2-2, 6 and 9 map count, which is not ideal. For some reason, Joe Deceives is not on their page. Intel? Wait a second. Did we just get Intel? Joe Deceives dropped from Toronto Ultra after nearly breaking the kill record yesterday versus LAT. But yeah, this team's just kind of been a little bit on and off, right? They beat Ravens, they beat Boston, but they got 3-0'd by LAT. They got 3-0'd by Cloud9 New York. Not exactly ideal. So like I said, actually, I'd probably switch them in Cloud9 with 6 and 7. Then coming into number 5, up 2 spots, it is the Minnesota Rocker, a dark horse team, as we know, that has only, fumbled once so far this split, but looks really strong. I mean, Rocker coming in 3-1, a 9-4 map count. They look really good, right? This is a team that I think has been solid, has been quality so far this season, and has just continued to do that, right? 3-1 over Miami, 3 over OpTic, 3 over Falcons. Obviously, the 0-3 versus Ravens is not ideal, but as a whole, they've been playing much better, especially Paul X. I mean, looking at the numbers, right? Paul X, a 93 Slayer rating, which is actually higher than Geo, which is insane, but Nero and Estrel have been phenomenal so far this split. I think Estrel's actually probably been their best player. I know Nero's numbers might look a little bit better, but he had a really rough series versus the Ravens, and I just think Estrel's been doing everything for this team. I mean, a 1.19 in respawn is disgusting, and they're really good at every single mode, and this is a team that, like, I would not be surprised if they make a top 4 at Major 2. Going to number 4, down 1 spot, it is the Carolina Royal Ravens. The Ravens are a team many people have been calling frauds all season long, but they just continue to be a good team. They are 2-2, 7-6 map count, so a little bit worse, right? But you obviously got to remember they made the finals of the first minor. They were a top 4 seed at Major 1. They ended up making a top 4 at Major 1 and have started out 2-2 here with losses to Thieves and Ultra, or to Thieves and Ultra, and wins against Rocker and OpTic. 2 3-0s, by the way, this past weekend, which is just, obviously, I mean, if you can not drop a map all weekend, that's really great. Again, to look at their stats for these 4 matches so far, Siege has definitely taken, I feel like, a bit of a hit with the Jackal nerf, Jackal GAs we've seen so far. Vivid is just still doing Vivid things. Slasher is still doing Slasher things. And Gwyn, honestly, is just still doing Gwyn things, right? This is a team that has been struggling in HP, started to turn around this weekend. But they're just still good, man. Like, they're just still a team that, do I think they're going to really be competing in grand finals throughout this season? No. But they're a team I think can remain around the top 4, top 5 all season long. I know people, like I said, are calling them frauds, but I think this is a roster that just has really good teamwork, really good fundamentals, understands how to play the game and play together. And as we're seeing, the teams that obviously understand the game but play together are the ones that are winning. Now for our top 3, and by far our biggest risers on the list, up 7 spots. I can't believe I'm saying this genuinely. It is the Vancouver Surge up to number 3. The Vancouver Surge, man, I knew this team was going to get better with Neptune, right? You've heard me talk about it, and I'm sure everyone else pretty much agrees, right? Everyone watching this agreed. They were going to get better with Neptune, but this much better, I did not see this one coming. They're 3-0. They're 9-4 in map count. Looking really good. And again, just to look at their stats for just this split, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal work out of Neptune. A 1.17, 104 Slayer rating, nearly a 1.2 in respawn, right? And this is coming off of a 3-1 over Atlanta FaZe, a 3-2 over a Rising C9, and then a 3-1 over LAG, which is, it's kind of whatever, right? That one's kind of whatever. But 0-4 has been better. Abuza has been better. Nasty has been much better. And 0-4 in Abuza's numbers might not look that crazy, but given what they were doing, this is a significant improvement. And Neptune honestly looks like a top 5 player in the game currently, right? If we kind of exclude the fact that he hasn't played all year, if we're just looking at like current form, he's definitely a top 5 player in the game. He might even be the best player in the game, right up there with like Simp for being one of the best right now in the game. This guy has been phenomenal. They have 4-2 in hardpoint, 3-1 in SND, 2-1 in control. This team just looks really good. And honestly, looking at their matches coming up, they got LAT, Miami, Ultra Rockers. So at least 3 of these are really tough. And even Miami could be a tough one. So good to see how they kind of sort out in the minor and how they sort of look going forward, because this team is really exciting. Now we get to our top 2 teams, and I still have LAT at 2 and FaZe at 1. You could put LAT at number 1, given as FaZe did lose to Surge and LAT are currently undefeated. But I'm just giving FaZe a little bit of benefit of the doubt, right? They're still looking really, really good. We got the minor coming up, and the minor will definitely help determine who's really number 1 and number 2 if one of these teams beat the other or one of these teams win it. Looking at LA Thieves, they are 3-0 right now, 9-1 map count. The only loss coming to that Skyline S&D versus the Vegas Falcons, which is just absolutely hilarious. But they 3-0'd the Ravens. They 3-0'd the Ultra, right? 2 of their fellow top 4-ish teams, I'd say, right? Or at least expected to be. And I mean, looking at their numbers for this stage so far, I mean, Hydra, a 1.25, 104. It looks like Hydra has started to figure out this game for sure, but Envoy, Ghosty, Scrap, all really doing well. I mean, this team just seems to have it down. They're the best respawn team in the game. It's without a doubt, right? They're undefeated in respawn right now. 1L coming in the SND versus Vegas, which definitely we're trolling, but Search is obviously LAT's worst mode, but best respawn team in the game by far. And I mean, you saw it on my overlay when we're on the page with the power rankings. It really does feel like a 2-team league. And then looking at Atlanta FaZe, they're 2-1, 7-4 map count, right? They obviously did lose to the Vancouver Surge, which was insane, but that's just credit, I think, to how good Surge are also looking. But they 3-0'd OpTic. They 3-1'd Miami. We can look at their stats real quick for how they're looking through their first 3 in this stage. But Simp has been amazing. Celium has been, I mean, they've all honestly been really, really good. They've all been as good as they were in the last stage or since they rebounded after starting slow in Major 1. But SND has honestly just been not their best mode right now. They're 1-2, and you expect it to be a little bit better. So FaZe is a team that I still have at number 1, man. I'm just not going to dock them yet. I think this minor is going to determine number 1 and number 2. But yeah, man, those are the power rankings as of February 24th after week 2 of Major 2 qualifiers. If you want to know my predictions for minor 2, check out the Around the CDL podcast. We're going to be live tonight on Monday, as well as the VOD will be uploaded tomorrow morning. But this is what I'm thinking, man. I think Surge look incredible. I think OpTic are definitely a team struggling the most right now, but I expect to see some more fluctuations after minor 2. So I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to sub, and I'll see you all in the next one.